Audio. How are you doing?
I am good. How are you?
I am great. Listen to your supple radio voice right now. Sounding fresh.
Thank you, thank you.
Well, let's get right into it then. I guess if you're willing and able and ready.
Yes, sir.
All right.
I am ready.
So, what class and level are we dealing with
I
here?
am a Nightwalker at 225.
225. Nice. Just unlocked your new
Yes,
area.
yep.
Sorry, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, I'm a bit low on damage or stat because I kind of just rushed it.
Mm-hmm. That's that's fine. So what kind of stuff do you what do you aspire to? Like how do you fill your days and what do you enjoy doing kind of?
Filling my days. Well, so I started this account like 3 weeks ago, maybe, and I want to do bosses and stuff like the harder ones, near like the end game, like not end game, but let's say like late game, maybe early end game. It's
Mm-hmm.
kind of what I'm looking for.
So like hard listen and hard will and then maybe some stuff after that?
Yeah, maybe that's like I guess kind of like my long-term goal, right?
Yeah, maybe like Ferris Hilla or, when they
Yeah.
hmm depending on if you can get to those levels and depending on if
hmm
they maybe become a little bit more easy in the coming time, if more
hmm
avenues of progression, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And that's like the main thing that you're working towards.
Mm, I guess that's like just like when I'm looking far into like I guess the future, but like I guess like a short-term goal would be
Mm-hmm.
like I guess just to solo lose lo Lotus, solo Lotus,
Okay.
Lotus and Damien.
Right. And but these are specifically bossing goals, right? So that's going to be in general the way that you kind of double check if you've made enough progress and how far you've come. That's typically how you look at bosses.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
for the most part.
Yeah, because some people just want drops, or other people just want they want a certain level,
Yeah.
or that's okay. So that's yours. Okay, that's like your reference frame. So what have you been able to clear solo, and what have you been able to clear in a party so far?
Solo, I've been able to clear, I guess, just the Queen and Bon, but the Clown is a bit of a struggle
Mm-hmm.
because of the splitty part, and I don't do enough damage to burst it from like, yeah.
Yeah, to, like full pre-split clear is
hmm
a bit harder. Uh
hmm
huh. And okay, and then Vellum and everything harder like HMAG and CPAP and all of that stuff you haven't
I
cleared yet.
haven't tried CPAP. I've tried Vellum, but I can probably do it. I just have to like sit through the 25-27 minutes, which
It's a
I haven't
long.
tried yet. Yeah.
Wait, is it? Yeah, it's. Wait, is it 20-minute boss fight or is it 30-minute boss fight?
I think 30, but I don't
I
remember.
don't remember exactly. I do have them. Did you see my Project CRA for Nightwalker on the YouTube?
I did.
Mm-hmm.
That came out as soon as I started trying the Chaos
Oh,
Rootabills
good timing
bosses,
on that.
so
Yeah. Did was
it really
anything in
was, yeah.
that useful or did you already?
Um shit, I don't remember exactly. But I remember watching, I'm like, oh, this is I can actually do I remember thinking, oh, I remember watching your video and thinking, wait, I can do this because I have more I think I did more damage than you,
Mm-hmm.
right? At this point, because you did like I think I don't remember how much damage you did, but I remember seeing
Yeah, I
your
don't know
damage. I'm
either.
like, wait, I can do this.
Uh huh.
Because like I think I was a little bit more than you. So I was like, oh, I
Mm-hmm.
can do this. And I tried it and I was like, oh shit, I can. Hell yeah.
Yeah, that was well. That's really cool because that was one of the one of the goals was like hopefully that people see like oh wait this guy can't even play this character very well and isn't nearly as strong as me but he could do it so it's like oh so
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
with some practice I can probably either get pretty close or I'm probably already closer already beyond it when I didn't even try that
Yeah,
was
yeah,
that
yeah,
was one
for
of the
sure.
goals. Yeah. I think I killed the clown without splitting as well because I totally mess up my if I remember right from Nightwalker, I totally mess up my burst because I accidentally flash jump into a hat, and I'm like stuck in a hat while I bound him. So I only do like
flash jumping is-
I only do like 20% of my
yeah,
burst
flash
or
jumping's
something,
cancer.
and then I have to take off the bats and do the whole thing after split, and then I died to like 2 more dumb things. And then I think I end up with 2 lives at the end, almost dying out, and then at like the last 30 seconds or something, suiciding, binding, splitting, killing with like a little bit left. I think is my Nightwalker run. So definitely not clean.
Yeah.
But the level of difficulty is of course a lot higher when you have to deal with the split. I do have a specific I do have a video on that as well, like how you can deal better with like a split Pierre, because it's it's an art of itself. The main thing for Nightwalker is going to rely on trying to lure one into like the corner, and as soon as you see the red one teleporting on you, will be dark side and then jumping through the blue one, right? It'll really depend on if you have a blue or a red hat. If you have a blue hat, it's always a bit tricky to do any kind of damage in that stage, because the blue one is always going to be there and the red is also teleporting. So when you have a blue hat, you can't really do all that much. It's going to be all about maximizing your damage when you have a red hat on. And it's all about positioning so that you can kind of like bait the red clown into teleporting in certain spots, so that you can use that to create space for yourself to fight him on the other side. Is going to be the idea for Nightwalker. But yeah, if you have the clown, I think the clown is a good example of like how it can still be possible when your run is definitely not perfect whatsoever. And for Vellum, I had to re-record it because I fucked up the audio in the original recording, so I had to redo that. Which double check audio now, but I think I checked it. Yeah, always double check. But yeah, it is. What does help is if you have the full CRE gear, of course, from the clears itself. But I see you already have. If you got the fake arcane, is probably gonna push you quite over what my character was doing. That and boost nodes might be a bit higher than mine as well. If you've been leveling more. But we'll definitely look at some things. I think your critical rate is pretty good. Your ID is probably a little bit on the low end in your current setup, but I think that's in the mobbing setup, right?
Yes, this is my mobbing.
And you do have access to like a lot of links into distinct setups between the two.
No, I have, I believe, just like 13 or 14 link skills.
Yeah, so you just equip like everything you can, basically.
Yeah, basically right now.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. I think that's perfectly normal as well for a stage that you're in. Yeah. So I'm not really in my brain gonna look at like, okay, what does the progression session say that you should be having, and like how much are you short on everything. I'll just look at the things that you do have and like what the regular step forward is, and then we can, after a while, we can like double check with the progression grid and see if that kind of lines up as well with where you would quote unquote want to be right now, where you'd want to be in like a few month or two, and then where you would eventually want to get to with Hard Lucid and Hard Will. Sure. Oh, bye, Andy. So, yeah, and then keeping into account. The one last thing before I like really get into it, like to take into account is like, what have you done so far with your compensation? If you used everything, or...
So, this was like a brand new account like a month ago, so I don't really have. I don't think I have any like flames. I have 800 arcane symbols. That I haven't touched yet. I used like the first half or whatever on this account, but I haven't touched the other half yet.
Wait, 800? It's 1,000 in total, right?
Yeah,
but 200 or 500?
I have 800 right now. I don't know how.
Okay.
Let me check real quick.
I'll look through your groups real quick, get an idea. Yeah, so you picked
I lied. I have 500 left.
500 left. Okay, yeah. Well, I'm not dirty liar. No, I'm just so we're thinking from the correct number that you have left. Okay. And then did you kind of like divide those between what you had, or did you mainly do those on Lekaline because it's probably further behind the other ones?
I just did a little bit. They're all around the same level. All my
Mm-hmm.
my arcane symbols. They're all level 8 and 7.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So yeah, on one hand, leveling them up evenly will make it so that you get the most value out of the symbols that you are using, right? So from that sense, it makes sense. But the way that you want to look at the symbols, if you're looking at it from an efficiency standpoint, is a symbol doesn't have one value of a symbol, but a symbol has a value of how many days of dailies do you have to do in a certain area for this symbol. So if you give one symbol to an area where you can get 29 symbols every day, then one symbol is like 1/29th of your daily there. But if in another area you can only get 8 symbols a day, then just one symbol there is 1/8 of a daily. And in the end, you max out on symbols once you did dailies over a certain amount of days. And that's where it ends up. So that's like a slightly different perspective of looking at the value of a symbol rather than how many levels do I get out of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay.
So it's not the end of the world that you use them the way that you did, but from like an efficiency stand of view and from like doing dailies on as few days in total as possible, it would be more efficient in that sense. So I'm not saying that that's better or worse, but just like from an efficiency sense, it would be more advised to use them on Morass or Sphera because you're limited to only being able to get 8 symbols per day there, versus the other areas having access to way more. So, but of course that depends on, are you going to get to that area in time? Do you even want to train that hard to get there, etc., right? There's a lot of questions there. So for now, I would say sit on them and just wait until, if you can access Morass, if you can access Asphera before they tend to, before they're like near expiring. If you can see that you're definitely not going to make it, or then you can just divide them again. Or you follow the efficiency standard. So the efficiency standard after Morass and Asphera would be probably to use them at Lecheline, because you only have the 4 standard, right? And then the 1 extra from the Tower and Dream Defender. And usually that one is a lot slower to build up than the other ones. Unless you are either really bad or really hate Spirit Savior, then that can be also kind of on the same tier. But you've unlocked Arcana now, right? Have you tried Spirit Savior already?
I have not tried it yet.
It's definitely like, well, I wouldn't say acquired taste, but something that takes a little bit of practice for sure.
Gotcha. Okay, I'll try that out later.
Yeah, I have a video for that as well. But yeah, basically you're just if you did the pre-quest, right, where you save the little rock spirits.
Yes.
Basically, Spirit Savior is the same. Like, they're stuck again. They just keep getting stuck everywhere. They're like stepsisters, I guess.
Okay.
And you just have to go through the map. Kill the branches, pick them up with the NPC chat, and then jump to the next one. And then there are like jumpers in the map to get you from one side to the other. You have to basically find a good way to use your mobility, use your up jumps, use rope lift. Basically use everything to get from one to the other fast, so you can save as many as possible. And then once you get to 5 of them saved at once, you will be at max capacity, and the spirit that's chasing you and trying to catch you will be at max size and max speed as well. If they catch you, you lose all the spirits that you have, and you lose part of your shield. And when your shield goes down all the way, then you get kicked out, even if you still have time left. So
that sounds kind of annoying.
Yeah, it in the beginning it's very annoying because you're not sure how to path and how much time you have and how many times you have to hit one of the spirits before you can save it. So in the beginning you have to be super careful. Like, you save one and then you jump all the way to the other side of the map, save another one, jump all the way to the other side of the map, and you can get to 5 and you can hand in 5. But it'll take you way longer. And as you get more used to the pathing of the monster, as you get stronger, you can kill and rescue the spirits faster. And you get used to like how much lag is there in between picking it up and it actually being counted towards the spirits that you have, etc. As you get a better feel for that, you'll be able to optimize your path. And there's some small tips as well in the video with like how you can change your minimap to make sure it shows the entire map, because that's not the default view, which is a little bit annoying. But once you get through that, you'll be able to do your runs much quicker. And then the bonus is, of course, that if you unlock extra areas, you speed up the dailies on the areas before. So that will help you with not needing to deal with that as much as you get further in the game. You could do one autocomplete and then, pick up your symbols. But it is a good one to get because that's up to 10 symbols a day just from that, if you can get a hang of that. And up to 18 total with the kill quests in tandem with that. So 18 symbols a day is really, really good. And it'll help you pass the Lecha line very quickly. Yeah, so specifically for the compensation, so we can make sure we finish that topic. So you have 500 symbols left, and is there anything else left of the compensation, or is that the only thing that you haven't up?
I also have the growth potions. I have 3 200 to 229. I have 1 extreme growth, so from 200 to 249, and I have 3 from 200 to 239.
Right, so all 229 and up, so 3, 3, 1. You have 7 in total left. Okay. All right, that'll definitely... yeah, that should help you get to 235 in a timely manner. That definitely would be before the symbols expire, I think, right? Because you also have like
for sure. There's
triple experience coupons left, and you probably picked up the sherbet pet as well. So like the looting is a lot easier, so you don't have to, you know,
the back pet.
Yeah, exactly. Worry too much about where am I moving and what am I hitting, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there? All right. So that's like good for like backup info or background information, I should say. So if we go into the details with the systems in the game, are there any systems that exist where you think I don't know nearly enough about this? I definitely need a lot of help with what's going on here.
I think I understand most. Like, I think transposing is something I'm not 100% understanding. So from what I've gathered, it's in like the videos, like your video that I watched, it's basically you just you get the flame, right, of the previous item into the new item, right?
Yeah, and it's a little weird because it takes the it remembers what the tiers were, and usually when we talk about flame scores and stuff, the reason we do that is because we don't want to have to worry about the tiers and stuff and what it is exactly. We just want to, you know, reduce it to a single number, and then we can use that number to have more clarity on like how good is this. But what happens when you transpose is because of the code of the game, it has to keep the same tier also in the higher level item, which becomes a higher number, and then it like readjusts the distribution of the stats. So sometimes it looks a little bit weird. Like the green flame number will go up even though the total amount of bonus stats doesn't go up. So it takes those stats out of the blue number, and then items start looking a little bit weird. And sometimes if there's no blue number to take out of, it shows up like a magenta number, like a minus number. That you might have seen on some items, but that's just like to correct that it internally keeps making sense and it doesn't get even stronger because of transposing, because it already does get better in some other ways, and that's like one of the that's like one of the exceptions that makes it look a little bit weird sometimes. Was that confusing?
No, I think it's okay. So, what's a question about
Well,
like
be sure.
Starforcing, I guess?
Be sure, because I'm here now. So if you still have anything,
Yeah.
you could always,
like,
If
so
you don't, I won't judge
how do
you.
the
Like,
stars
just
work for transposing?
So the stars for transposing and transformer is the same essentially. That you get the stars -1.
-1, okay.
Yeah. But so for transposing, there's the added thing that because of how the system works, a certain amount of stats as you transpose gets copied onto the base item, and there is basically you could transpose at like any amount of stars, right? Starting at 1, but what people have like, because of how the system works and what people have tried, is that the best place to do it is at 16 stars.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that's just how that system works. You can like look up in the details and everything if you're like really interested, but just everything to remember is transpose at 16.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Transposing is scam. Yeah, and it's costs you dineros every time as well, so it's a good thing to have some
and
backups.
There's like a 3% chance or something. Like...
Yeah, it's low. I don't know exactly how low, but it's definitely single digit. Yeah. Does that clear up everything with transposing?
I think that's enough information for me for transposing.
If you have any other questions, we'll probably get to them during the whatever we're talking about, I guess.
Yep. Yeah.
I'll always double check before we move on to the next topic to make sure that everything is clear
Sure.
surrounding the topic, so we can, make sure we keep things a little bit structured. Because in the beginning, I was not so good with that, and then we have 13-hour conversations about, and it never ends. So you have usually with how people take pictures, I usually end up starting from the bottom and then working my way up. Because what I find is that equips and how to upgrade and how to go about all of that kind of becomes more easy to explain and to understand once the other systems all kind of make sense and are completely understood. It tends to make that part a lot easier that way. So let's start with the skills and with the V matrix and everything. Is there anything here where you had any questions on decisions to make or?
Yes, so I have 4 boost notes right now, but normally it's only 3 for Nightwalker that I believe. So I guess this is kind of what I would run during a boss. Just because it gives me extra I reached the level 40 on Quint stars for the extra IED. Which is why I have this extra node over here for that. And I mean, is it fine for me to kind of just chill with this for now? Just so I can hit the extra IED, because I'm, a little bit lacking.
8, 9, yeah, so you condense it into 3 before. Yeah, that's probably fine. The one thing just to keep in mind is that if you have to extract any nodes, then there's reduced efficiency on that. But the value, of course, that you get over time by being able to hit those benchmarks earlier, and the fact that it doesn't really go at the expense of any crazy stat that you're missing now, because you do have enough room for it, that I think that definitely makes that decision worth it, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
The one thing that's probably a bit better, though, is to put any skill that is not a decent skill in that leveled up slot that you have. Because decent skills get almost no value from leveling like that. So probably your Shadow Bite, or just anything that has on bossing, anything that has a short cooldown, or on mobbing, anything that just does gets either extended duration for leveling, or that just gets more targets or something like that, would be primary access to level up slots. But that's just a minor thing, honestly. Yeah, no, other than that, if you have the room for it and you get to those benchmarks higher, it definitely is fine. Generally, yeah, once you get to a boost node of level 10, 11 or something, that's typically when you definitely want to stop leveling it if you're going to have to extract it later anyway. But that's usually when you get to that point anyway, because if you have 4 and you get them all to level 10, then that's 15, that's 16 together. So then as soon as you start leveling past that point, that's when you go from 4 to 3 to 2 anyway. Because you'll be going at level 65 or level 70, so it'll be all wasted anyway at that point. Yeah, it seems that we might be using the blink one, so I guess save that one from now on. Don't know if you saw it. Yeah, I skimmed the KMS Tespia notes. Apparently blink is saving to becoming a floating skill. For everyone, that could give you more mobility and more survivability. Yeah, I guess this will, if you up jump into this and then maybe use your star thing, you can definitely stay above the lucid dragon more easily and stuff like that. Yeah. It seems like it's finally gonna get some utility. Decent funds,
cool. I'll keep that.
I think Decent Mystic Door though is still probably not worth. And Hyper Body not worth, and Decent Advanced Blessing is one that you put in once you get to the second page of slots, kind of thing.
Which one?
Decent Advanced Blessing.
Advanced Blessing. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll keep that for now.
Yeah. And of course, when it comes to all the decent skills, the Holy Symbol is probably the best one to level between them.
Yeah.
And then Rope Lift is probably a second with. And the blink one is apparently also giving weapon and magic attack for being leveled up. So it's kind of weird because people have probably been extracting these forever, and then now it's now it's good, by the way. And it's okay, well, yeah. That might make it the second best decent skill to level up, I guess. Except for maybe the bind, but you have a self bind, right? Even though it's a little bit weird, but it's definitely not a standard bind, but it works.
I don't like my bind, bro.
No, I know.
Like,
There's definitely. I mean, if you have to choose between Stitch, what is it, like cross Stitch or something, or
yeah,
the Nova though, like you'd still stick the Stitch and an extra slot in your
yeah,
Matrix though, right? Yeah. But
yeah,
yeah,
for
I
sure.
get you. It's definitely not an ideal one.
Hmm.
I think during my during the Chaos Vellum run, I think I just completely whiff one and just don't hit the target at all, and I'm
Yeah,
like just jumping around like, oh, this is fine.
yeah, that happened for me for Magnus, because like, I don't know if it's just me, but I can't hit him because I guess he's in the air. I don't know if that's actually a thing, but I can't seem to hit him with my Shadow Stitch.
Like at all.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm just bad,
Oh.
but
Wait, any
it's just like
Nightwalkers
I
in the
can't hit
chat have trouble hitting Magnus as well? There's definitely some weird interactions because like Pierre
Yeah,
tends to sometimes just completely just ignore binds.
yeah,
But yeah, we've seen some stuff coming from KMS that to remedy some boss issues with like CRA, Lotus Damien, that kind of stuff. But
hmm.
Nightwalkers in chat, Keck. Hey, come on, dude. Be nice. Yeah. The Nova skill has like very limited uses. I think people use it in Chaos Gloom and in Black Mage.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, I'm a little bit far from that.
yeah, so you can hold on to it for now. If you have like a whole screen of
Okay,
them and
sure.
you're really starving for shards, you could be like, eh. But for now, yeah, it's mainly those ones that I mentioned. But Holy Symbol, of course,
Okay.
more experience and more drop rate, so that one's very nice for both mobbing and bossing. Typically, I don't actively make any nodes for that one until my boost nodes are at least like pretty much done. But that is a decent one to invest into for sure.
Okay.
How's mopping with the what is it, Dark Servant? Is that what it's called?
Yeah. It's good, but since I kind of lack in damage right now, it's kind of, just like it's a little bit harder for me. But like I'm in the Nightwalker Discord and everything, and like it's pretty cool. Like I just see how they're doing it and like how their rotations are. I'm like, wow, this is what I strive to be. It's
Because
just one
yeah,
shot with my bats.
you can rely on it more to clear plats once you get that extra damage. Yeah, and I imagine his
Yeah,
damage
and
goes
like,
up quite a bit when he's leveled as well.
oh yeah, for sure. And like the duration goes up by 15 seconds, so it's 45-second uptime and 60-second cooldown, so it's actually
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I was gonna ask if
pretty
there was
good.
any that give more duration. I guess that's the only one, right? Spear is just damage,
Yeah.
bite is damage.
Mhm.
The other one is damage as well, yeah. I guess Last Resort gets stronger when you level it.
Not too sure.
I think, but that's of course only those hard bursts. Last Resort, Maple Star. Oh, I just have to Google the skills all the time. They don't feel bad for not knowing it by heart. It starts with 10% final damage and 30, and then when it's maxed at level 30, it does 13 and 36%. Okay, so not that much more. Does give a passive effect of up to 30 attack though. That's kind of nice, I guess. Oh, the cooldown goes down to 75 seconds when maxed versus 90 seconds. So that's also 15 seconds more. That's pretty
yeah.
cool. I mean, as long as this is still 100%
Yeah.
accurate, of course. That's not always, but most of the time it's decently accurate. Uh-oh, I might... Yeah. Okay, hang on. Google Chrome is memory leaking, so my pages are lagging. There we go. Okay. Anything else with Matrix? Did you have any questions about?
So the first three notes are correct, right? Or for the most part?
Let's see. That's Bat, Spark. You went 2 Quint, Sparks, Bats, and Omens, and then 1 whatever. I think some people go for the full map thing, and then some other people go for
Dominion.
Yeah, Dominion, and some people go for the other skill. I don't know if that's really important which one you go for there. Just
Okay.
but you have
So
one. Wait. Oh, that's. Oh yeah. Okay. That's the Dark Omen on top, right? On the first 2.
Yes. Yeah.
If you do that, then your third one needs to have quintuple. So I wouldn't keep the first two, but because then you have to extract both the other ones, right? Because both those first two have Spark and Omen. So that means the other two can't start with one because that'll be like a wasted slot. So you probably want to keep... what's the best option here? What is the top skill on that level 9 one?
On the level 9 one is Shadow Stitch.
Oh, that's Stitch, yeah. Oh, Stitch is the other option, right? To maybe level? Set a Stitch or... Yeah.
What does Stitch give? Let's see.
Because it's just
final damage.
Yeah, just final damage on the bind. Yeah, that's not too...
Yeah, I mean, I could get a better one.
It's not ideal, yeah.
Yeah.
The best thing is probably to look at all of the nodes that you open for now and see if you can make like a perfect combination between what you already have and what you get. And then once you get that, you might have to take one of your level 8 nodes that you have and just throw it into a level 1 node. But all of the experience gets transferred that way, so there's no loss.
Yeah,
there.
I don't lose anything, right?
Yeah. So,
okay, cool.
Because I'm thinking right now the level 10 and then the first one on the second row, I think if you take those two together, that takes the Sparks and the quintuples, and then you have one Omen and one Bats. I think that keeps the most options open, because then all you have to do is like replace the Bats one with one that doesn't have Spark, or the Omen one with one that doesn't have quintuple, and then you're completely done. Then you have the 3.
So find the third one. I would find is a Bats, Omen, and a random one.
Yep.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So you already have that basically in the second one that's level 8, except for the extra Spark. So for now, those 3 would be like, if you get those 3 up to level 25, that would also be fine. And then just eventually, if you find the right one, quote unquote, it could also be the quintuple one, right? And you take the as long as you know which skill you have 3 times, and you just switch that one out later, then it's just like a little bit of min-maxing later. So as it stands now, I think the level 9 one is probably the most superfluous one. I'd probably stop leveling that one and just focus on those first 3 probably. Yeah. Cool. Right, that takes care of Matrix. Okay. Then you have familiars. Okay. Is there anything with familiars that you're wondering about?
I mean, I got something. It's not like farming for familiars is pretty annoying, because I mean the way I get familiars is just farming on my legion and just transferring over to my main.
Yep, that's perfectly fine. Yeah, and it's gonna be slow process. Yeah. If you get
annoying.
2 15 ID ones, you have this. You don't have the second slot available, right? That's probably a good thing
I have
to
a question
do.
about that. I don't understand that. How do I unlock it?
Yeah, you have to get 1 badge at least.
And how do I get badges?
So you, if you go into the tab right now and go to the badge tab.
Yeah.
And then you check. I didn't have it equipped. And then you go to lists. Then you can see. You can click on any badge and you can see which cards are part of the list, or part of the badge. Sorry.
Just farm these monsters until I get a familiar from them.
Yeah, and then double click them, and as long as when they go into your collection the first time, they will be counted in the badge, in all of the badges where they count as part of the badge.
Okay.
And then they will just be highlighted, and if you have all 3 of them, the badge itself will be highlighted, and then it will show up in that equip tab, and then you can equip them. And when you have at least 1, you'll get an extra option here on the bottom left, right, where the rover familiar was the first time. And then just the whole storyline of just nonsense that you just skip through, and then it'll unlock the second slot. And if you have 10 badges, you can unlock the third slot. So that's a really big step. But that first badge, that one is pretty easy to get. And because of that, it'd probably be good to see if you can get another one with 15% ID, so you can double dip on those. Especially because there's so little value in the beginning for familiars. If you can get ID out of that, that's really valuable. Especially also in your situations, I saw the ID was a little bit on the lower end, so that can take some weight off of having to look for ID on your weapon secondary or emblem, and instead we can just get it from a more like a cheaper source, right? That doesn't go at the expense of so much more damage in your familiars. Yeah, the other things, yeah, a little bit of drop rate, a little bit of healing is the only other thing that you will be getting at this point. And that's just the only thing you really aim for. Once you get to Moonbridge or higher, they will just be dropping while you're training, and then you can go with like fusing and leveling and try to go for epic and unique ones, and then see if you can get some crazy familiars. But until that point, yeah, just throw everything from your Legion just into storage, reveal it here until you get what you want. And then either you keep doing that and then extracting them for booster packs. Sometimes you can get lucky with booster packs.
Booster packs, okay.
Yeah, there's a chance for epics. So if you in the thing, there's the shop function, right? And then you can buy booster packs for, but that's for 2,000, so that's already pretty expensive. But there's a chance for epics, you know, which can give you something nice. And sometimes there's also very rare familiars that are otherwise not available or just very hard to get that you can get that way. And that could give you a like a shoe-in to getting a certain badge completed, because certain badges can just either not be completed or are way too hard, just because of one of the familiars that you need in the set. But if you get lucky and you can get that one from a booster, then the whole set is suddenly just free, and you can just, you know, farm it up really easily. So that could be a way for you or for another character in your account later to have access to a whole set.
Okay.
Yeah, other than that, don't worry too much until you get to pretty far into the game.
Yeah, it's gonna take a while.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, no need to. Yeah, it's one of those things where you can min-max on later, but you definitely don't have to feel bad for not having like a bunch of epic 40% boss things, or I don't think you can even get 40 boss on epic, but like 30% boss.
Yeah, I was mostly farming for like drop rate or meso familiars.
Are you aware with the drop rate and the meso drop rate and how all of that works?
Like for my equipment and stuff, or just for familiars?
Like in general, like how that stacks together and what the limits are, and
yes, I do.
Okay.
Because the familiar adds on to your whatever your equipment is, right? Like there's no cap for the familiars.
Correct.
Yeah, so so basically, I got it.
Yep. And if like the total drop rate is enough to get a bag always when you kill a monster, then meso drop rate by itself stops adding like value. Because you know you can't go to 2 bags or to 3 bags from monsters in the game. So at that point, you want to just hardcore go for full drop once you're very high up.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right. Does that clear up familiars?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, then we're at Lynx and Legion. So when it comes to Legion, are you familiar with my Lynx command?
Yes.
Okay. Is that basically what you're following, like in general, like not to the letter?
Somewhat, yeah. Like some I'm just kind of just doing stuff and whatever. Like I started a Wild Hunter yesterday, just for like so I don't get like screwed over in a boss fight.
Yeah, the resistance link, very useful.
Yeah.
That definitely helps with, well, we mentioned HMAG before. That's definitely one of the bosses, HMAG, CRA. And then if you want to go towards Lotus and Damien, make it a little bit more forgiving whenever you die, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, and you get the 2K Legion. You didn't buy the upgrade yet, right?
Not yet.
Yeah, okay.
I'm working on that.
Yeah, that's a little bit tricky in the beginning when you're really starved for coins, of course. You wish you had just an infinite supply of coins. You do have to kind of choose. It can be annoying, but it's definitely the most efficient to get your upgrades in as soon as possible so you can start moving more characters into your board. But that will hurt you a bit in the beginning, of course.
And like the passive income from the Legion coins from characters, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. You know how that all works, right? With the raid power and that stuff.
Yeah, I don't know exactly the specifics, but I mean, I don't think that really matters.
Yeah, no. Yeah, well, like your raid power is your damage per second, basically. That, yeah, and then that's it. And then you get 1 coin for every 100 billion. So if you want to, you can just math it out, just basic arithmetic, and multiply it and see how much you get per day. But it does get pretty good. You probably get something like, if I guess, something like high 30s, low 40s coins per day, I would say.
think it's like 30, something like that.
Yeah, so like 30 something, 34, 35, something like that. Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, it just scales very well on the level of the characters that are in. Levels are, you know, the star force on the characters does something as well, but the levels is definitely the most important.
Yep.
They have a huge effect. 3K is going to be really good. That's when you can, you know, expand again like another grid spot, and you can get 5 extra characters to put in your board instead of just 1.
3K. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's nice.
And that happens again when you go from 5 to 5.5K. Then you get 5 characters extra as well, and then from 7.5 to 8 as well. That's why, you know, for endgame people do go for 8 because of that 5 characters. If it was only 1 character, nobody would be going for 8 because between 6 and 8, it's so much extra work. And if all you get is like 4 characters for 2,000 Legion there, it's like not worth it. But because of those bumps, those are good thresholds. And then probably once you get to 3K, it's probably going to be a good idea to like completely redo, you know, where all the blocks are in your Legion. Before that, you're typically leveling up very quickly, and everything is kind of moving and changing shapes, and it's not really worth just constantly redoing it. But once you get to 3K and you have that bigger grid, and you have like a lot of characters available, I believe 18 characters at that point, then it'll be a good idea to kind of maybe use the grid builder or stuff like that.
For sure.
And yeah, just get as much crit as you need. Crit damage will be very good, and that's when IED will become a little bit more viable as well. Because even if you rank up to 2K now, you will unlock IED, but because of how it's calculated, it won't really be efficient to put points in. Yeah, you're up to speed and everything with like IED and how that's calculated.
Sure. It's big math.
Yeah,
But
huge big math brain. Yeah, no, it's not very intuitive how it works. So I always have to like double check for people, because some people think, oh, I used 30% line, but I don't have 100%. What's going on? Like,
yeah.
Because there are definitely systems where it says percent and then it gives flat number somewhere, and that could be because of old code stuff that could be confusing at some point. Yeah, is there anything with like Legion and links or what order to do things that you had any questions about?
Oh, quick question was how so for 140 character, how much Legion, like I guess points or level do I get, or like points do I get?
How many points? So it's rank S. So the block is always going to be the size. Is going to be 3 block size. So it covers 3 areas, and then depending on which character it is, the buff will be very different, right? So the Legion buff is the green one here in the grid. So depending on what character it is, you'll see like rank A, or rank B, A, S, double S, triple S. You see all 5 here. So you can also see like how much worth is it really to level it. Like for these 3 guys here, the Hayato, the Shade, and the Jet, you can see that when you go from level 140 to 200, it goes from 3% to 5%. And since one block in the Legion board is 0.5%, that essentially means that if you go from level 140 to 200, you go from covering 3 blocks to 4, and you gain 2% critical damage, which is the equivalent of also kind of 4 on the grid. So you actually gain like 5 pieces for getting that level. So therefore those are disproportionately way more valuable than leveling certain other characters. So that's a good way at looking at, is 140 good enough? If I were to push it, how far do I push it? Is that worth it? And that can also bleed over into like, what do I want to use my Terror Burns on, for example? And sometimes you can like go double whammy with like a very good rank double S in the Legion board and a very good level 3 link skill that's pretty close to 200 just for 10 extra levels. So then, I'm very much looking always at like 2 birds in 1 stone, or 3 or 4 birds sometimes. So the combination of, hey, is a character like a bossing mule that you would like you could clear CRA, get some extra money from the crystals, get a good level 3 link, get a good Legion board buff, and maybe a character that you can play and party play with other people with all at the same time. That would be like, the quadfecta, or how many fecta you are at that point. That's one way to look at that. I don't know if you've already looked at like with Neo, because there's probably going to be 2 Terror Burns, if you've looked at which characters you'd want to use those on.
Oh, Neo's in the events after this, right?
Yeah, they're probably going to start on June 9th, probably, yeah.
June 9th, so I got 2 months, okay.
Yeah, we're projecting the anniversary event to be 7 weeks, starting next week. 7 weeks, yeah. But yeah, so that's you don't have to like decide that right now. But with 2 Terra burns, there's usually more than enough time to finish them. But it's a good idea to already see like, okay, which characters did you try, and do you think have a lot of value, right? To get maybe a level 3 Link or a double S rank on the Legion board, but you didn't really like training them at all. It's a combination between, do you need a new main, or are you like looking for a main to play, or are you purely going for like value for your account? And in that case, I would always look at which ones have more value for your account and which ones do you just hate playing, because you want to look at the end of the day like, how much time do I save with this? But if you can save a quality of time, that usually has more value than a quantity of time, I've noticed. So yeah, if this is a class you absolutely hate playing, but it also has a good level 3 Link, and also has like a really good 5th job that you might be able to boss around with a little bit, those would be really good options for Terra burn.
Gotcha. Okay. So one I know probably for sure is Marksman, because I heard that class is pretty hard or pretty annoying to kind of level with them. So I was just like, okay, that's one for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I haven't really thought about what I wanted to burn.
Yeah, Marksman would be definitely a solid like giving crit rate to your whole account value pick there, and definitely a lot of value out of possible struggling and annoying training for sure. It's mainly it's fully on the crit rate side, of course, which will help your whole account. It wouldn't necessarily be like the top 1 pick for like a new account, but for your situation, that could definitely be a good one to go to. And I do think at 5th job with split shot and when their 5th job skills, I think they become kind of cool. So that could be something that you might enjoy. I don't know with other archers if you've played any that you like. You're doing the Wild Hunter now, right? I don't know if you enjoyed that at all.
That one was okay. It was, I mean, it's like level 90 or something. So it's just like, it's just you just run around on your Jaguar pressing that one ability. So.
Yeah, what is it? Blast or something? Arrow Blast? Wild Arrow Blast?
Yeah, something.
Yeah, just hold that down and And 5th job is the same, except while you're holding that down, you press another skill with where you shoot like giant grenade balls at the same time. So it's basically you just do that until you get to 275. But bossing is completely different. You get off your Jaguar and you fight, and you like command the skills for your Jaguar for yourself to do at the same time. So that in that sense is like completely night and day versus mobbing and bossing. That's kind of cool as well.
Yeah. I realized that when I was doing like the Inferno Wolf and stuff. I just in like the elite bosses in my channel, I just realized that like if you're just off, you just do so much more damage.
Yeah. And for certain skills, you need to be on top of it. I think there's an iframe in the 5th job that you can only use when you're on top of the Jaguar, so you have to be careful as well with like switching and stuff. It adds a whole dimension that not too many other characters have, so that's pretty cool, I think. Oh yeah, that's another thing I see mentioned in the chat. Do you have like Zero and Beast Tamer? Do you have those classes?
Do not. Brand new account. I want to make those as soon as I can.
Yeah.
Because I know those are kind of OP.
Yeah, they're very solid. Like Beast Tamer, maybe not for the end game, but for like everything up to end game, for both progression and just for your main account, very, very valuable. And Zero, of course, just the sheer if you get a 0 to 200, the experience block is the same as the whole block region in your Legion. Filling it, like the value is nuts. So you probably won't be able to. I don't think you can burn a 0 ever. And not that we're probably getting Kane as well, right? The new class with Neo. That one probably also won't be able to be burned, but everything else should be able to be burned that you want to. So, yep. But yes, just something to think about by the time that rolls around. Oh, and if you finish the 2 Terra burns, there's also a fake Zolab weapon. It's like the limited upgrade Absolab. So that could help another character as well that's maybe struggling a little bit to get a jump up to 200. Maybe you can get some gains during the coming event for level boost with the bonking, right? With the the pool. And then maybe you can get part of the way, and then you can drag them across the finish line with the fake Absolab weapon or something. Or it could be a good setup if you want to do a little bit of bossing with a character there.
Yeah.
So there's options there. Okay, does that cover all the Legion and links?
Yeah.
Cool.
That's good for the most part.
Yep. So with the Legion and links, and specifically the Legion board and the link skills, I think we'll look at the link skills now, and then we can go to your stat window and then work our way down. That's what we're gonna do.
Sure.
So right now you just have everything linked that you have available. There was some mention in the player conference in KMS that they might go for unlimited or access to more link skills.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, that might be months and months, maybe even like a year away for us. So there's probably no real reason to take that into consideration too much. One general thing, stacking of link skills. Are you aware of all of that?
Yes.
Okay. And then the other thing is just like the general priority. That's also in the links command, right? In the grid. I try to take both the link skill and the buff for the Legion, the member bonus, and put those kind of together as one cluster value to give value to a character. Because if a character has a really shitty link skill but a great Legion buff, I don't think they have any place being above a character that has a decent Legion and a decent link skill. I think that gives way more value to your account, of course.
Yeah, for sure.
So with all that being said, just the yellow, the green, and the blue, like all of these, any classes in these columns, right? You can't really go wrong with any of these. These will all just have good value to your account. And as you access more of these, you're going to see that you can be more specialized in your link skill build.
Yeah.
I guess you always want the knockback resistance though, because it's kind of annoying.
Yeah, I need to get that
around
to level 140. Oh my god.
It's not fun.
Mihal is not. I don't like that character, bro.
Nope. It's gonna be interesting for Project CRA because I think they can do well because their survivability is just so good.
Yeah. It's just mobbing, It's
a bit,
I'm not a big fan of how he plays.
Yeah, I did it with the Royal Guard, with the stacks. If you can keep the stacks up reliably, with my 200 ping, it was a bit struggly. But if you can keep the stacks up reliably, you get giant AoEs all the time. That's really cool. But for me, for streaming, it was annoying because I had to constantly be like, okay, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi hit, and then, but then I was constantly just ignoring my chat because I wanted to make sure that I was hitting those Royal Guards, and then everyone in chat was like, okay, he's so focused, he's not responding to anything we're saying. So that's not like ideal. But yeah, certain skills will become, their situationality, I guess, will become more and more apparent as you move through. Like when you're mobbing, Light Wash, not gonna do anything, but then when you're bossing, of course, God tier, and together with the once you get the Demon Slayer link, like that one, it's gonna be very, very good on bossing, of course. You might temporarily need, and we'll get that in a sec once we go through all of the IED and stuff. Might need the Ho Young and the 0-1 for a certain duration of time to get you to the ID that you need to confirm your damage to the boss, right? Because like your raw numbers compared to my Nightwalker are probably way higher if you're like mobbing. But when you're bossing, your IED is very, very important to have at a decent level because you get a lot of final damage reduction. Even if your raw power is really good, if your ID isn't there, your damage just falls off. So that will be an important thing to look at. And the other thing is crit, of course. Yeah, getting your stuff to 100% crit, so all of your crit damage can apply. Very, very important. So it'd be a combination of utility, so like Mihal and Resistance Link, and then just crit and crit rate, and then some crit damage once you get that 100%, and the IED, and then anything that's left, just as much power as possible into that. So something like Hybrid Logic, like the Xenon Link, is definitely good throughout the mid game, but throughout the late game usually loses its power. Tide of Battle tends to lose its power depending on the class you're playing, but tends to lose its power because it's a conditional and like a charge up, and something that's also conditional, but like the Arc Link skill, for example, is still way more guaranteed because you just have to be in combat, which you pretty much always are. And then that has a really good level 3 link as well that gets you up to 16% damage if you keep that one charged. And of course, Demon Avenger going up to 15%, plus giving you more % boss damage at the same time as well for the Legion grid. So that's also a character that some people very reluctantly drag up to 200 or 210 and then never look at ever again because it's the 5th job is just so disappointing. It's unfortunate, but it was very solid and one of the stronger classes and easier classes to train way back in the day when I started. That's why I started with it as my main, but yeah, they definitely... how the mighty have fallen. Not so top tier at all anymore. So yeah, with stacking, with linking, and then with switching priorities, you'll get more and more value out of this with the bossing. And then basically between this, where you put the numbers in the Legion board, and then with your hyper stats, we're gonna try to puzzle together like what is the good amount that we need to make sure that the potential on your weapon secondary and emblem that doesn't come under too much pressure, basically.
Okay, yeah.
So we'll go by what you already have in terms of potential there, and then kind of relay that back to see like what will that mean for which skills do you need to activate, which where do you put the Legion grid. And I kind of like take through the stages, like for now, for a while from now, for soloing these bosses, for harder bosses, like where do you kind of distribute those points. Have you for yourself calculated what your functional ID is?
I have not done that exactly yet.
Because when you're on the lower end, it doesn't really matter because it's usually just like whatever you see.
But I just know it's low, so.
Yeah, because it does get rounded up in the stat window. And classes have various amounts of functional IED, so it's good to just know exactly what you're working with and use that as a basis to see like where do we distribute all the points.
Gotcha. Okay.
We could do that now just to make sure that we have it reconstructed so that we have the right thing that we're working with.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. So let's start with what's your current situation? Is that with your familiar summoned or not?
No familiar.
No familiar. Okay. Why are you saying 85%, Sam? No codex. He has 85%. How can you possibly know that? Have you seen his nodes, Sam? How do you know his functional IED? Have you seen his nodes? You haven't.
Somebody linked it to him earlier, so he might have.
Fuck. Arcane. You're using the arcane weapon right now, right? So that gives you 20%. Your hyperstat is at level 9, I believe.
Yes, 9.
And you have the full CRA set.
Yeah, half top bottom.
And then without the weapon, of course. What's your ambition at?
Ambition is at, let's see. Oh, wrong button. Level 74, so it's at 7.0.
Okay. You don't have a beast tamer. Do you have a blaster for any IED? I didn't see.
I do not. That's one of those I'm gonna make too.
Do you have you have some superior items, but I don't think you have the full set, right?
I have one superior item.
Yeah, just the belt. Okay,
yeah.
Okay. No Monster Park medal, I don't think.
Working on that.
Okay. Legion is not giving any right now. You do have the enhancement nodes, but we'll add those in a bit. Okay, and then we have. Well, it's not about. Well, Sam knows. It's about showing your work, right? It's like going through the whole process, making sure you don't forget anything. It's not just like picking up the number. First, we want to make sure that we can accurately reconstruct what you have right now in your stat window, so we make sure that we're not forgetting anything. And then from there, we start adding the invisible sources that you have now to get your functional now, and then we add the sources that are accessible to you soon, things you're already working on, or what to go for, and then we can cross-reference that with where do you want it to be, and as a result, like which things do we need to work on and progress on.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. So let's wait, because that the passive for Nightwalker, how does that work again? That's like the stacks that you build, I believe, right?
Not too sure.
You hit how we talked about this when I was playing.
4% per marked. How many times?
I think it starts at 2% and then gets leveled up to 3, 4, 5, and then up to 7 stacks, I believe.
I'm not sure the exact.
Or it starts at 4 and goes to 5, 6, 7, and it's 5 stacks. Sam, stop yelling 35%. I know that you said 35%. We're talking about how to get to 35%. But you have to stack it. It's not passive or something. Some people have just passive ones that you just roll in and you immediately have 35. You do have to make sure that everything is working. Okay, so
Adaptive Darkness, right?
Yeah, Adaptive Darkness. Yeah, and I think you have a number 2, number 3, number 4. I think in the second, third, and fourth job that empowers it. Yeah, 1 more %, and then more stacks. I think as well. Okay, so equip base stats. We went through all of that except for. Yeah, do you have any on your weapon secondary and emblem? I don't think you have any now, right?
No ID. Yes.
No ID. Okay. And then set bonuses. Do we have the boss accessory set bonus? I don't know if you have enough for that.
Let's see. I have
1, 2.
No, I am 1 off. I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
4.
Yeah, I have a plan for that though. I was gonna get my I was gonna like start forcing Cuba and Mechanator.
And that would give you
a greed pendant right now.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah, true. I saw that. Yeah. So Legion Grid bonus none for now. Let's just try to reconstruct now. Legion member bonus no. Link skills yes. You only have the ID link skill, right?
Yes.
Familiars and badge effects, you don't have that one yet, but we can add later because this is without, so we will add later, right? As a source. Passive soul weapon buff. I don't know what you have as a soul.
I have crimson, so plus attack or whatever.
Like flat attack or
flat attack, yeah.
Okay, 6 attack. Yeah, okay. All right, and then passive hyper skills. Is there anything there that gives you ID?
In hyper skills, no, nothing.
Okay. And then the boost nodes, we add that later. Character specific ID skills are boss debuffs, so we're gonna add that later. Event buffs. Do you have like a haste title or something like that?
Not the haste title. I have the Tobin's 30%.
30% right now from Tobin. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's important to know that you need that now to reconstruct, but also that that's going away again. Guild skills or potions? No. Okay, that puts me here at 73.75, which is lower than what you had, so we're missing something. We can check if it's a
Let's see.
9 ID set. On the sources.
I have 15%. I have 15 monster defense ignored in my 4th job skill. Just a passive.
Passive. Okay.
Yeah.
4th. Okay. That. Oh, I added it twice accidentally. Yeah, that gets us to 77.69. So that's probably the 78, right?
Okay.
Because that would get rounded. Okay. So short term, what we will add is familiar 1 and familiar 2. That's where it looked pretty good. And what else can we add on short term? We have the boost nodes, right? That's right. Working at 20.
Mhm.
And then we have Link. Definitely looking for the upgrade for that set bonus, but Golix is not coming
For sure.
anytime soon.
Trying my best.
Yeah, ambition will only go up a little bit, so I'm not going to min-max with that too much. Familiars and Soul, that's all two situational. Hyperset is only 1 level extra, so make sure that we get all the other ones in there. And then we have the stacking buff, right, for the 35. Make sure we don't forget that one. That gets us at 91.62. If there's anything else temporary, I don't think you have access to the guild skill, probably, right? IED is not one that people tend to go super hard on.
I don't think so. Let's check. Yeah, no, we have everything in boss damage and damage and crit damage.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's usually what people do. It's like IED is kind of like a you problem, and then the other stuff is more to just boost everyone blanketly. Yeah. Okay, so that means if you get the 2 familiars, and with the boost nodes, and with your debuff, that you're like, that's pretty easy, right? Just adding one familiar, adding 1 slot, then functionally you'll be at 91.62. So that's, if I'm correct, that's definitely like at the spot where you want to be. The problem, quote unquote, is of course that once the Tobin disappears, you'll drop quite a bit lower. So in order to make up for that 30, there are some things that you have access to. Temporarily getting a line on WSE is of course not a bad idea. And that'll basically carry you over until either you have the Superior Golix completed, or until your Legion is so big that you can start filling out the grid, and then one of those two will make it so that you can redo whatever item has the ID on it to fill that gap, basically. So when it comes to WSE, specifically when it comes to upgrading, I guess the only other thing that we can look into before that is like your inner ability. Do you have any kind of plan with that, or any questions?
Not short term, not right now. I that was something I wanted to focus on after, like, all my other stuff gets kind of, before I start touching inner ability, because I heard that can get quite expensive too.
Yeah, it can, for sure. Yeah, it's just a good idea to know which things give honor experience, and probably just steer into those, so you can have as much honor experience to work with as possible once you want to go hard with it. So if you could do, if you have time for it, of course, dojo once per week. That can give you an okay ranking, and then with those points you could buy honor medals from the shop. That can be useful. Other than that, just when you're training and when you're bossing, you just loot all those honor medals. And the one extra thing is event shops sometimes also have honor experience medals for sale. Those can be pretty good value as well. Sometimes get overlooked, but of course it depends on how much currency do you have, how much time do you even have to play during the event. But they can be a good source of honor experience for sure for later on. In general, if you don't need attack speed +1 to hit like your attack speed cap, which you don't as a Nightwalker, one of the things you can't really go wrong with is like meso obtain or drop rate in the inner ability on the top line when you get to legendary. Can't really go wrong with that. It'll just help you progress through the game a bit faster, and then while you're training and mobbing, you just make more money. And then you can min-max on it much later. So definitely wouldn't be opposed to 1 line of IED for now, especially once the Tobin goes down, because otherwise Lotus and Damien will be very, very hard to do. Thank you, Brando.
1 line IED on WSC?
Yeah, so that I will look at your items, but I think that'll probably mean that it has to be your secondary for now, right?
Gotcha. Yeah.
Because I don't think you want to redo that emblem in the sense that it is. And your weapon, of course, you can't redo, so that also, I mean, that limits your options, but it also makes it a lot easier to determine what to look for. I don't have the stats on hand, but it's like, is it like a line of attack, line of all stat, line of luck or something?
So I actually re-rolled it yesterday.
Oh, okay.
It's boss damage 30, all stat 6, crit 9. Crit
Okay.
rate 9.
All right. Yeah, that's not. I don't think that's. It's not horrible, of course, but it's not like the. It's not
Yeah.
good enough to feel really bad about rolling over it.
Yeah.
So yeah. So.
I was looking for IED on that yesterday, but I was like,
Okay.
whatever. I only have like 10 cubes.
Yeah. Sometimes you just gotta take what you can get, and when you're limited to so many cubes, yeah. Is IED on WC not necessary at all anymore? You need it temporarily when you're still progressing, but like I said, once you have the Golux set coming in and or your full Legion coming online, those sources of IED will, for pretty much every class, will be enough to not need any IED anymore on your weapon secondary and emblem. A few classes, maybe Kana, might still want to have at least one line, but other than that, for most classes, you can completely phase that out. Yeah. Which gives you an additional, well, not for you specifically, because I don't think your Princess No secondary is much better, right?
It's a little bit.
It's like, what is it, like 2 all stat or something?
Something like very minuscule. Yeah, nothing big.
Or like a less all stat but 1 more attack or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of up to you if you want to go hard. The one thing is, if let's say that you do get a familiar that's like, I don't know, like a line of boss, a line of IED, and then a line of damage or a line of stat or something, and you want to hold that, you could also say, I'm going to start working on a secondary, and then just cube that on the side and try to go for full attack or attack and boss on that. And then you don't have to get into the situation where you can already start working on the upgrade, but you don't have to be like, oh, okay, I can't, if I, at the end of a session, I always need the IED back, otherwise I can't kill the bosses anymore because of the reduced efficiency kind of thing. But that's obviously for like a little further down the road, but I would let that decide on like how much better are the other secondaries, and do you even think it's worth spending money on that. Okay. It's a fine settle. Well, that's not what he has right now. He has 1 line of boss and then 1 line of stat. It's already rerolled. And I think the stats for Tobin are until beginning of May, I believe. Like May 9th or something. I think. So that's like 3 more weeks. May 4th. Okay, so a little bit less than 3 weeks, yeah. So there's a little bit of a timer on that, but not too much. Like 3 weeks is still a pretty long time to get some IED, like a line of IED, a line of attack or something. That should be pretty doable, right? Just don't roll 3 line attack and then get stuck. I mean, if that happens, then I guess you just have to rank up the emblem, because wait until the last day. Okay, but for weapon secondary and emblem, that takes care of like the ID portion. We didn't look into the crit situation too much. If you're going for the Marksman, then there's some passive crit coming from that. And there'll be a little bit of crit that you very easily get access to through your hyper stats. And then once that's high enough, you'll phase out you'll pretty quickly phase out the Archer Adventurer Link skill, right? Because then that one will do very, very low, give you very low value at that point. So that'll be one of the first ones to go at that point, once you can get 100% crit without that one. And if you do get into the Beast Tamer link, if that becomes available over the summer, then especially for bossing, they'll give you the extra crit that you need there. And some people do use it for mobbing as well, just for the extra crit in the beginning. But there's also a command for that, for like crit and the crit sources. That'll help you kind of see like where can you get everything. And even just placing 1 piece in crit in your Legion grid will just be like 3 or 4 extra percent. That will help you out a lot, especially in the beginning when you don't have the full 6k grid out. You won't really have that much trouble covering all of the important bases, crit rate, critical damage, IED, and possibly even boss. In the beginning, it'll be pretty easy to cover almost all of that, but once you get to 4k, 5k, 6k, it'll get a lot harder. And then usually that's why people end up eventually going for 8k, because at 6k it's like, oh, I have the whole grid available. But but you can't fill anything because your characters don't cover enough spaces, and you don't have enough characters to put in the first place. So that usually gets people to make that push from 6 to 8 sometimes. Not for everyone, of course, yeah. And but it says decent sharp eyes. You're already using decent sharp eyes, right? If I remember correctly.
Yes, I have that on.
Yep. Oh, but it's not buffed in the window here, so that's already extra 5% that.
Yeah, plus my my level 20 boost note gives me crit rate 5% on my Quinn stars, so.
Oh yeah, there's a thing with like crit. Do you go 95, Sam, on in general? Because I don't think all your skills, because it's kind of annoying because it only gives you 5 crit for that skill specifically. So unless you have the 5 crit on all of the boost nodes, then you can stay at 95. Otherwise, you still need to go to 100, and it's basically wasted.
Okay.
Which is pretty kind of silly. But there's even some skills that give like +1 target hit, which actually makes the skill worse. In some cases, I saw that's
Oh, okay.
Cool coding stuff. What the crit rate 95 enough. It's annoying with Aaron. Yeah, Aaron has your 2 main damaging skills have 100% innate crit, I believe, and then all the other ones you need to get all the crit for, kind of thing. Yeah, it's not as extreme with this character, thank God. Okay. Cool. Any questions for any of this so far?
No, I think everything's fine.
Okay. So I'll just look at the first picture first with like your equips on it. Like going by this, what are you? So currently you're already rolling on the secondary, right? Trying to get some ID there. Which next things like have your eye other than the pendant? I think you were working on, right? The Mechanator to get the set bonus plus, better flame potential, that kind of stuff. When it comes in terms of just which equips you're trying to get, what were your plans at this point?
I'm gonna have the Absol glove in a couple. I think either in a couple days or by next week latest. So I'm gonna get that.
Depending on the Lotus drops, you mean?
Yeah, no, I already have it. I already have the Lotus drops. I just need the weeklies.
Okay.
I just need there's that.
Oh, one extra thing is that those items are tradable, right? Or like transferable through your account.
Yeah. So I have a level 200 Kana that I'm gonna have my friend carry for me.
Cool. Nice.
Working on Commercy. My second for the
tattoo.
Yeah. The cape and the shoes and the hat, I don't really want to touch too much because I know I'm gonna be switching over to Apso.
The cape and the shoe, yeah. The hat will stay CRA, right?
Oh, okay.
Because
I didn't know that.
Well, yeah. So that's kind of the question because of the fake arcane.
Yeah.
You can go for the full set exactly with the hat. It'll kind of depend on how long you're moving from one to the other. There is the event shop and the event stuff coming, where you might even try to go for some low cheeky set bonuses for arcane even before you even get the full Abzo off the ground. Weirdly enough. And that kind of depends on how much money you make on your character, because there are going to be again, like, Bard really weird updates and everything, but it seems if we get the same events for Anniversary and for Neo, that there should be access to a total of 300 droplets from shops alone, which is like enough to buy 2 equips, almost 3 if you find some yourself. Which is pretty crazy. Which in your situation could almost mean that there might be like a chance that you just kind of like skip Abzo almost.
Oh, okay.
Because then, if you invest into 17 Star Forcing, you will need the money, of course, to buy all the droplets and sit on that for a little bit. And you might be a bit weaker, of course, in the short term. But yeah, you might end up... because if you can craft... Yeah, and then you could just 5-set with the fake weapon and then just fake it till you make it, until and get into Hard Lucid and Will like that until you either get a drop or get enough droplets after that to be able to make a real weapon. Might actually be in like the ideal position. When it comes to Lotus and Damien now, you're doing it like with carry or with a guild or?
With carry right now, because I don't do too much because I had my friend can solo it and I followed him into it, and like I was trying to DPS and stuff, but I only think I did like 90 bill, so I'm not close enough to Lotus, I think, yet.
It'll definitely also be a matter of like with the mechanics and optimizing your damage during the situations and stuff. And as you get more through all of CRA and then after that HMAG and then probably CPAP and Akechi are also good bosses to practice on just because they're so annoying, but that really helps you with like learning your positioning and your mechanics, and it just helps you with developing your muscle memory a lot of like being able to respond quickly to jumping out of the way for annoying stuff. And that will just pay in dividends once you get to Lotus, Damien, and then Lucid and Will help you so much to just create better or fewer outcomes for you where you can still get surprised and caught off guard because you will just be able to respond sometimes quicker than you can actively know because your brain will already be like, whoop, get out of the way, or like escape button, run away kind of thing. But I almost see, since you're not into the Abzo stuff yet, I almost see like a good opportunity here to just sit on your money a bit more, and like try to just sneak right into Arcane. So we're looking at if we get the same, right? So that's kind of like the question: if they change how many droplets we get, or which type of droplets we get. If we get more news from KMS, because they're talking now about unifying the droplets where you can exchange them for one type. That would also further the flexibility of the droplets that you can get from the store, so actually increasing their value. If you get the same, then there would be 50 of each in one shop in Anniversary. You definitely saw one of the types of droplets announced in the preview, but not the other one, so people are being careful about that. And then Neo had 2 shops with 50 of each, one for money and one for currency. So that does mean that you need 5 bill per shop to buy them all out. That is quite pricey. But if that allows you to just bypass all of Abzo and go straight into 17 Arcane and just waltz into Hard Lucid and Hard Will already decked out with a full Arcane set pretty much, that would be pretty funny and also kind of weird, but would be pretty funny, but it would allow you to just bypass the Abzo stage almost completely.
Yeah.
That would be funny, yeah. So if you're looking at 300, and then if you get 24 droplets of your own, that would be enough to buy 3 pieces. So that could be like the shoulder, the glove, and the shoe. Yeah, so that'd be pretty close. And then because the best part about that is also you would keep just 5 set and then keep 3 set CRA with that. So that means that your hat doesn't even need to go anywhere. You can just keep using the CRA hat the whole way through as well.
5 set Arcane into 3 set CRA.
Yeah. And then you probably keep the Tyrant Cape, for now until you get like enough droplets through playing, or you can start doing the bosses and get a drop. We're looking months ahead now, or by the time you train, you already have more pieces. But the Tyrant, of course, by itself now is definitely the strongest piece, right, from those 4 items. And of course, you won't really care that much about the shoulder breaking the set, because at that point, the whole set is going to be broken by Gollux anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
Hopefully sooner rather than later. But that's the goal there anyway. I think that could be like a cool, unique thing for you to try to achieve. That does mean though, like specifically saving up to be able to buy out the droplets, and going a little bit harder. In the meantime, with the money that you do have left over on the items that you will be keeping throughout that, of course, because there'll be a little bit more weight on those, because the the Absolab items and set bonus won't be able to kind of help you with that transition.
Gotcha. Okay.
But I think the fake arcane will allow that. So to get to the fake arcane, it will be a very high value, and I assume that you're throwing your flames on this thing now, right?
A little bit. I'm not a lot, but I threw a couple in there just to see what I could get.
Yeah, like 85 and 5 is of course, like, for when it comes to potential, is really nice. If it was anything but anything but a weapon.
If I had attack or something, yeah.
Yeah, but like attack is of course the way to go. The thing is, though, of course, with claws, that you can go a bit lower on the attack. You don't necessarily need like the highest possible tier on it because the base attack is so low.
Okay.
It does lose some efficiency there if you're trying to like really, really squeeze out, like, I need the tier 6 attack like everyone else does. If you get a tier 5 also with some, what I call like the plus stats, so any kind of boss damage or possibly all stat, they can kind of sweeten the deal to maybe sell for a tier 5 as well if those are high enough.
Okay.
So like a tier 5 with a tier 5 boss or something would definitely be really, really good in this situation. But you don't, of course, you don't have any like compensation flames. So the way I usually do that is I just, go about, I put all my flames, I got all of them in the storage. And then as soon as I see that one of them starts flashing, I just start looking like, okay, what item do I want to flame? And I just throw flames on it until either I get what I want or until it gets better than the next possible flaming item, basically. Or until I almost run out of flames and I have something that's like, okay. And then I usually stop and then, repeat cycle as long as necessary or until you switch over. But definitely like getting some weapon attack and or some boss damage on the weapon, that will be very, very useful because you're going to be using this one for a long time. So you want to make sure that you get your value out of that.
For sure.
And the 12% crit will definitely have its value there. It's one of those things where, of course, you don't want to rely on your weapon for crit, but if you're going to have it anyway, might as well, take all of the value out of it that you possibly can. Might even help you get out of the Phantom Link at some point, right? If you have this 12 around and you maybe a little bit more into hyperstats. Once you have more hyperstat points and going past level 10 it gets really, really expensive. It might be more of an idea to just get all of your good stats in hyperstats like higher up, and then that might even free up the Phantom Link skill. But of course, hopefully by that time Legion and Lynx is a little bit more developed, and then you have another damaging Link you can throw in there instead and rely on those points that way. So like the math behind it would be like that the opportunity cost for the critical rate in the hyperstats would be lower than the gains that you make from the extra link skill would be higher than how much you could possibly get out of throwing all those hyperstats from like 10 to 11 or 11 to 12 in something like damage or boss damage, basically.
Okay.
And so that's how you want to look at like the hyperstats, and then the combination with the link skills and the combination with the Legion grid to make sure that your weapon WSE again doesn't get too much pressure on it.
Okay.
So apart from that, when it comes to your equips, what other plans did you have, or which other equip did you have like questions for, like where to go next on that?
So what you said about the Absol stuff, so should I like look into like cubing my tyrants, or
I think that would be probably then a decent idea to, I would at least get it to like, you could probably get it to like unique, epic or unique, and try to get at least like 9 or 12% stat, and then just sit on that.
Okay.
That'd probably be good enough. I wouldn't Star Force it because that's still kind of
that's
icky. It's just I know my mom did it for some characters because she just progresses through the game at a completely different pace. So she's got like a 7-star Tyrant cape somewhere sitting. Because it is a lot of all stat though, so it is really good. But it's like on a bishop as well, where it empowers her benediction. So there's definitely an argument for it there. I think the flame is more than good enough, so I wouldn't touch that.
Cool.
But yeah, like I think unique potential with like a 9 and 3 or 2 6% lines, that would probably, and that'll be enough for that. Yeah, to warrant how much longer you're going to be using that exactly.
Yeah.
I guess this that takes care of almost the entire right side. I think your heart. What is your heart at right now?
20% all stat, something like that. Hold up. No, 15% all.
15% all. Yeah. Okay. That's not bad, but heart is together with badge, but of course we can't really be cubing those anymore on the new accounts. Is the item with the lowest amount of junk lines. So when it comes to like pushing the percentages on items, always look towards the heart first, because that'll just be like per your money will be the best bang for your buck, basically.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think I got the heart from like epic to legendary within 2 cubes, just a
Mm-hmm.
straight up unique legendary. And then the third cube I used, I got 36% strength.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah,
Very happy
I was
with that.
very happy about that. Yep.
Yeah, we often get lucky in the stats we don't need. That's
Yeah.
seems to be a pattern throughout this whole Maple Story experience.
Yeah. I swear it's something in the coding, bro. They just
Yeah. You just have to make
they
sure you
keep
don't mention it out loud or you don't want it too hard because then they just pick up on it and just give you something
Yep.
else. So
Mhm.
yeah, the desire indicator or something is very real. But yeah, so yeah, that makes sense for that. Your earring, what is your earring at? Is it a reinforced?
It's reinforced, yes.
Okay, just yeah, so that's just like placeholder. When looking at long term, and I don't know what you're doing with Gollux. Are you doing hard lux or like carry helix? Like, what are you?
I have a friend that carries me Helix.
Mm-hmm. It's a good idea, and I don't know what he needs or she needs. I guess a friend can also be a girl. If they are allowing you also to pick up like reinforced earrings, in general, that's a very good resource to have backups of for transfer hammering later into high Star Force earrings because there aren't too many other alternatives for that. So that's one extra thing to look at, and obviously, hopefully the superior earring.
Yeah. Yeah, he's letting me pick up everything, so it's cool.
Okay, all right, that's very generous.
Tell me.
Okay. Right, I guess then we can specifically look at where the CRA is at now. So like in general, when it comes to star forcing, right, you're looking for 30% off events to get to 15.
Yeah.
And then 5, 10, 15s to get to 17. That's like general, or beyond, of course, beyond anything beyond 15. Basically, 5, 10, 15 is your go-to. You probably just don't want to go too crazy right now because of the looming cost of the symbols, of the droplets. I mean, sorry. So that's mainly going to be hindering. Once you kind of know, okay, this is roughly how much make per week. This is how many weeks, how many months I have to buy all of this out. This is how much money I will have to, like, flexible money to play around with. And then with that in the back of your mind, you can look at the events and the Sunny Sundays that are coming out and being like, okay, there is a Star Force event. I can still spend like 1 or 2 bill there. Because even though you're going, main priorities to jump on the droplets, that doesn't mean that everything else has to completely halt. Because, if you get to the end of the shop and you end up at 7 bills, like, well, that's 2 bill you could have spent on an event, So you don't want to necessarily be halting all of your progress. So hopefully next Tuesday we should be able to see which, or Wednesday at the latest, we get the patch notes, so we should be able to see which Sunny Sundays we have coming up. And that'll give you a little bit better of an idea of like which days would you want to be upgrading which item. But yeah, definitely you want to go for 17 on all of these, right? Like I mentioned, the pressure on these is going to be a little bit higher now, or quite a bit higher now that the Absolab stuff might not be coming in as quickly. So we definitely don't want to underestimate the 17 star is a huge boost compared to what you have now. So that will definitely help you out a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, and the potential might, probably I'll need to come up to Legendary with at least 2 lines. But, if we see Cube Sale, go harder on that. If we see Star Force Sale, go harder on that. That'll basically just determine where you spend your money.
Okay. So is this specifically for my Fafnir stuff or for my just anything in general?
Anything in general, mainly for the things that you're going to keep throughout longer period of time. Those will have higher priorities, yeah. When it comes to stuff like the specifically when it comes to like how you do that, whether you safeguard or not, that truly depends on like backup situation, right? I assume that even though your account is pretty new, you have already at least a few backups, but probably not too many for
yeah, I do.
For the items for the characters that you can't kill, you probably have a little bit fewer backups, right? Yeah, so risk according to backups. If you have absolutely no backups and there's an event and no other event like in sight, might be a good idea to just like safeguard them for now. Safeguarding up to 15 is maybe a little bit expensive now, but in the long term is still like I think a worthy investment if you have absolutely no backups. But even if you have just one backup, the chance to boom it is pretty low. So if you have one backup, I would always try to just not do it, not safeguard, and that'll just clean money save. It's always a good try. The flames are pretty decent, honestly, across the board with your CRA, right? I don't know if you're familiar with all the flame scores and what you're aiming for with that.
I understand it somewhat, so I mean, I think it's fine. I can just if there's something I'm not sure about the flame score, I can just go into the calculator and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly. The flame score tries to make sure that it's future proof. That's one of the cool things about it. And it just because stats fluctuate, that fluctuates the value as well. So that's taken care of in the calculator to account for those standard fluctuations. Of course, everyone's a little bit different. Because you're a Nightwalker, your attack might be a little bit more valuable, right? Because of your multiplier on weapon attack, because of the low base attack of your claw. So you can slightly overvalue attack, but again, that's more like a minor extra thing. The main thing is still going to be, you're always going to be looking for those big chunks of luck and all stat, basically, or a huge chunk of stat, but a little bit of weapon attack can always like sweeten the deal. That being said, your flames are very solid here. Well, not so much the condensed power crystal, of course, but you're replacing that, so that's why you're not going too hard there. The head is very nice. Yeah, the belt has very nice potential, of course. Yeah, you know about flame advantage and items without flame advantage, so the belt is very low priority.
Yeah, I'm not touching that one at all right now.
Yeah, no, the weapon is definitely top priority, and then after that it would be Abzo, but you know, if you're going to go like straight into arcane stuff, then that would be the next priority, of course. And you can also go really hard on arcane stuff because, well, you're going to be keeping that for like ever. And one day probably at least. So you can aim pretty high without, especially in the beginning when you're just switching into it. Of course, as you get to higher numbers, it's going to feel really bad to lose all of it, and then you basically start using the same strategy again, as I said before, where you just like save them up until you get to the point where it's like, okay, even just one more score now is pretty expensive, pretty low chance. Then it becomes way better probably to start throwing them at the belt and stuff like that, because you know, who cares if you lose 8 stat, but if there's a chance to gain 40, then well, that's where you go, right? Dominator, hopefully you get a real Dominator soon. That's of course a very good daily to do for the primals and the doms, and the chance of the potions, big potions as well.
From Arc, right?
Yeah, from Arc, Arc, and Remaru also can drop the potions like the wealth and the experience potions.
Oh, okay, cool. I know that.
Yeah, very low chance, but as you build up more drop rate over time, and like drop rate familiars and coupons, etc., holy symbol leveling up, you will see those more and more. And then usually the ones you don't need, of course, but low chance of being those ones that you do want. So you have been making a little bit of transition, I see, like into legendary accessories, at least with the greed pendant. Are you planning on making a full set here? Because you haven't really talked about like how you make your money and stuff, because you do have the Kana. But for now, you're mainly going to be making your money with your main character, with your Nightwalker.
Yeah. So that's something I wanted to ask about, because like it takes, so like my meso farming rate is pretty low.
Yeah, that's normal. You don't have it in your inner ability. You probably don't have Legion coupon coverage, and you only have like one line, I think, right, of meso obtain in your whole account.
Yeah.
So you're like at the bare minimum now, basically. That's normal. So it'll be all of those things working together that really like fire it up. The problem is once your WSE is at this state, and you're relying on your income for your main, my next thing would be like always to be like, okay, just go hard on getting the accessories you want, legendary, get line of drop or line of meso, get that whole set complete, like full prio. But because of the events and stuff, I don't want that to make it so that you don't get enough money to buy out the droplets and then have to go through the whole Abzo train instead. So that's kind of messes things up a little bit. So depending on like if there's a cubing event or DMT, God forbid, that actually works, that might be like the green light to start working on some accessories, but always keep in the back of your head like having that 5 bill by the end of the shop date to at least be able to buy out the droplets kind of thing. But you know, working on your accessories and getting that meso obtain will just help you making your money back so much faster. So it is also like right on there with the high priorities for sure. Because again, you don't want to rely too much on your equips to being able to kill monsters near your level, as weird as it sounds, you mainly want to rely on your arcane power and on your node levels. Those are where all of the final damage comes from. So almost regardless of like what you're wearing, should be killing very quickly. Of course, there's the added layer of, you know, being so strong that you can one-shot with the bats and everything, but that's still probably a little bit away.
Yeah, I'm far from that,
Yeah, if you're like on the cusp of that and switching into drop rate, like goes from one-shotting to two-shotting, and that lowers your rates a lot, of course, then, you know, you want to reconsider, make sure that you don't move into that too quickly. But yeah, don't think we're at risk for that going away.
Yeah, so like I'm not even close to like one-shotting with my bats. I think I'm like maybe two-shotting, maybe three, like in Lackland, because like Arcane's kind of a little bit rough for me right now.
Yeah, especially if you move past the forest maps, right? If you go to the cave maps, then they're really
those are
a size bigger. Yeah, the forest maps might be okay, like some the earth ones maybe. There's some okay maps there.
Yeah, so there are some that are okay for me, but like I don't know. It's just I haven't farmed since I've gotten to 25 at Arcane. I'm just kind of just chilling, doing dailies and whatnot. So but yeah, like I have, I think, 2 bill saved up because I heard about the Arcane stuff, that the Arcane drop rates you can get. So I was thinking like, so I wanted to save for that and everything anyways. So, but I also wanted to like, you know, be able to farm more efficiently.
Right.
Because like my farming rate is super slow. Like I think just getting stronger itself would just increase my farming rate a lot, where I can like one shot, maybe even with my Shadow Spark, my mobbing shuriken.
Sure. For sure.
But
yeah, that'll be and that's usually that starts coming when like the Abzo comes more online. So
but since I'm skipping that, that's kind of
yeah, that'll slow it down a bit. Yeah. There is definitely a lot of value. That's why I mentioned the star forcing, right? Because once you get to 17 star force and everything, that is a really big spike.
How big is the spike? Because I'm not too familiar with.
So
I'm not too familiar with
up to 15, it's like nothing. But like at 15 to 16, I don't know if I have an item on that I can like show it with, because I think the star force here is pretty low. It's like everything is on 12. But basically you start getting weapon attack per star.
Oh, at 16 and 17.
Yeah, it's
or past 15. Okay.
Past 15, yeah. And stat still, and weapon and magic attack, and that just adds up over so many items. I think it's 7. I think it's 7 attack from 15 to 16, and then 1 attack extra for every star after that, I believe. So I think you get 15 attack, if I'm not mistaken, from 15 to 17. 150. Or it's non-weapon. Non-weapon is 9 and 10. Oh, it might be 19 attack even. If it's level 160,
I see
and then 10 and 11 on level 160 gear. So if you multiply that by how many equips it is, and it's like almost 20 attack per item, and and then basically once you're thinking about like 20 starring and stuff, everything just becomes like mini weapons, and you're just like, if you visualize it, it's like those anime armors that have like spikes and everywhere. You just if you just roll into the boss, you also do damage, kind of idea. Especially for you, right? Disproportionately, that attack really powerful because of your high multiplier. So Star Force is going to be a good investment, definitely. So that'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? The whole CRA and the sweet water stuff, definitely all of that stuff.
That's what I want to get 17 first. Okay.
Yeah, and then the belt, and then hopefully the earring by then. Those will be very important. The Dominator, so in general, if something doesn't go past 15, you don't get it to 15, because like it's not worth any of the trouble. Like you just get it to like 11 or 12 maybe. 12 through 15 gives you absolutely nothing except for just like pain in your wallet. Just doesn't help. The other thing that would be useful, of course, like in general, is going for those 2 last rings. So there are event rings in the in the upcoming shop that will be useful. Event rings in general, very good base stats, but not star forceable, which means that you know they're not end game, but they're cheap to get very good base stats on. You're basically getting like 15 or 16 stars for free on it that you don't have to invest in. So they're really good as temporary damage rings, and then later as mobbing and like as meso and drop rate rings. There's pretty much all of them are coming. So like the chaos ring will be very strong. Might be a lot of coins disproportionately. So I'll probably look into either Reboot Vengeful, or if you have synergy on multiple characters, stuff like that, to round out your current set. You know, at least 2, right, for those top 2 rings.
Yeah, for sure.
And then with the anniversary, with Neo, we're getting the stronger rings back. So you could also use that as even stronger placeholders until you start going 17 star or above on rings. So that will kind of help you save money on that front, and you can just get completely by on event rings.
Yeah, for sure.
So you don't have to worry about those too much.
That's kind of why I'm not touching the rings a little bit right now.
Yeah.
I'm just keeping the rings just whatever they are.
Yeah, that's good. That's solid. Oh yeah, and the Kana treasure would be also something you could get to 17. But again, if you want to keep that for a later project and you want to focus more on event rings first, and then circle back to that once you have the money, that could be a better idea. Because then you could just go harder even on the droplets and on the mesoptane and the drop rate on the other stuff. Yeah. I think your cup flame is also pretty low from what I saw. Yeah, that's definitely a lot of room for improvement. But again, weapon is like more important. But probably after the weapon is where it is, the next item, the flame, would be the cup. Because it is flame advantage on 140, so it can basically get almost the same flame, like around the same flame as your CRA has, is like what you're going to be aiming for on it. So you can set a pretty high standard on that. I think that gets us through all the equips. Oh yeah, and the Monster Parker badge, of course, work on that over time. But you know, that's just time gate. Not much else you can do. And yeah, symbol dailies, right? And hopefully we get a Dark Lords of Darkness event sometime soon, so we can farm those up. That would be cool.
Yep.
Definitely have some characters that can benefit from that. Yeah, other than that, you're just time gated a little bit with a lot of it with Gollux.
Yeah.
That's the main deciding factor, like getting lucky with drops and getting enough coins to buy the items. I imagine you're almost there to buy your first item.
I'm at 365, so like halfway.
Yeah, it's pretty arduous.
Yeah.
There's a matter of you could I don't know, like if you're very reliable on the carry and they're not available every day, there is the thing that if you can do hard lux, you could also look into like party helix, because you can, of course it's going to slow down the acquisition of the equips like straight up from drops a bit, but you can the coins are instant, so everyone gets their own coins, so there's no sharing for that. So that is an option once you feel like you're getting strong enough to reliably go in. Of course, the huge downside is that you only have one entry, and if something bad happens, you just immediately lose your run.
That's 1 per day.
Yeah, that's very unfortunate. It used to be 6, which of course was a little bit weird, but then to cut it down to 1 is a bit extreme as well. I think 2 or 3 would, be a little bit more encouraging for people to try, because now people don't even want to try because they don't want to waste their potential run, which there's no practice run and only 1 run a day. That's I don't think a good combo.
Yeah, it's not at all. Okay, so I guess like in order, what should my steps be on upgrading my items? I guess kind of like in a list.
Well, so you want to make sure that you save enough money to buy out the droplets, right? That's our main plan.
Okay.
And then the second
bill for this one, right?
Yeah. And so you want to look at the dates and want to make sure that you have enough. If it is 5 bill by the end, right? If you're going to have more in the meantime, priority would probably be to get the accessories to like drop rate and meso, so you can start making a lot more when you're training.
Drop rate and meso.
And the second thing to kind of look for at the same time is look at when the upgrade events are, if there are any Star Force events, and then try to aim for 17 star and everything. So that'll be purely like where your money will be going, and I think that will be yeah, and then right after that will be probably the IED on the emblem.
Gotcha. What about the flaming? We're flaming the weapon. Where should I put that
Well,
on
I
this
would
list?
for now I would just use flames that you get,
Mm-hmm.
and just save those up and have that like as a thing on the side. Because like money wise, I think we have
Oh,
enough
okay, okay,
things
okay,
that are
sure.
already accounted for. So I wouldn't be buying
Mm-hmm.
any flames right now. I think that could be something you do after you get everything like 17, and you have the drop rate
Gotcha,
and the
for
meso
sure.
set done.
All
Yeah,
right.
I wouldn't buy flames until that point for sure.
Okay, sure. So to recap real quick, so just get 5 bill for I guess my droplets.
Mm-hmm.
And then I focus on getting drop gear for my rings and pendant, whatever.
Yeah,
And
so
then I
it's a
would
good
focus
idea.
on
There are like multiple layers to that, but like the best idea in the
mm,
beginning is to just have like have 5 with meso, 4 with drop, because there's
5 meso 4 drop.
yeah, because it's 9 accessories in total, right? 4 rings, 2
Mm-hmm.
pendants, eye face, and earring. And you get up to 100% from your equips for meso obtain. So you want to max out on that
Mm-hmm.
and then get as much drop with that as possible. If you don't end up perfectly with 4 and 5, always re-roll the items that you have like too many of the stat of that doesn't also have a line of luck. Ideally, you want to get to 9 equips that all have at least 1 line of luck and that have a line of drop or meso for the perfect 4-5 distribution. Because if you
Mm-hmm.
have that over 9 equips, then you have 81% luck extra, right? Which will help you a lot not to lose too much kill potential when you're mobbing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah, sorry, I
okay.
interrupted you. I don't know what you were saying after what you wanted to say after the 4-5.
Oh, and then after that would be just star forcing, right?
Yeah, star forcing
That
could
would be my
be
priority.
it could be a little bit earlier or later, like depending on when the events
Depending
are.
on the events.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
yeah, for
look at the
sure.
patch notes, look at the sunny Sundays, and
Mhm.
then plan accordingly. If there is
Yeah.
a 5, 10, 15 before any of the other events, it could be worth brute forcing through.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's probably still better. You could use like the Star Force calculator, right, to kind of see the costs and to see if it would be
Mhm.
worth to like wait. You know, it could also happen that there's like a 5 to 15 and then like 2 weeks later there's the 1+1 that would where it'd be like, oh, it'd be perfect if they were the other way around,
Yeah.
but yeah, if it does come around and you don't have enough money, you could also just get everything to 16 first, then sit on 16, so you at least get that initial 100% guaranteed extra weapon attack from all of them, and then if you have money
Mhm.
left, try to go for 17. But yeah, back of your
Sure.
mind, keeping
Okay.
enough money for the droplets. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Hope that structures everything. You
Mhm.
could if you're like really close to getting the glove or something, you could switch to the glove because it's not like you're missing out on anything. I just wouldn't go too hard on upgrading it, because you do have a
Gotcha.
glove right now that doesn't really give you much of anything.
Mhm.
Yes, but yeah, because you can't transfer hammer or anything from Abzo, you can't translate any of that value over. So that's why I wouldn't go too hard on that.
I can't. Oh, I can't, right? Because Absol's a 160 weapon and Arcane's 200.
Yeah, that's why they made that gap, right?
Yeah.
So that it would be you have to
Gotcha.
do it on the arcane itself. Same thing for the shoe.
Yeah.
Like if it takes you long enough, or it takes you very long, and you can actually get the shoe, or you can even get like the Tyrant shoe because you have enough hard Magnus coins. You could get those in the meantime before that. Because we're probably looking at the end of the summer event before you can switch over. So we're looking at like July or August maybe already. So this is
Mhm.
like still a few months away.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, just try to find the line between like, okay, if you do need some more damage and you can just pick up and buy them, then why not? But like the grander picture is like, skipping as in not like you can't get them whatsoever and like every meso wasted is spent is a waste, but more like in general, we're almost flying over that.
Yeah, basically, I see.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I had a question about I guess so like since I said my meso rates are low on this character and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
like since I have that Kana, should I like gear that up a little bit and like maybe try to do a little bit of farming on that, see if those rates are any better, or.
So the rates will probably be better if you get like the meso obtain and a drop rate there, right? Because you won't have it here yet. So that's because you're kind of, it's a kind of like an unfair comparison. The thing is it worth the switch and slowing the progress here for now? Worth it in the long term? It can be. If you find yourself having trouble like finding like 2-hour sessions and being restricted with totems and actually wanting to play more than that, there could definitely be value gained from adding the kana, right? The main value is there that you don't have to do full 2-hour sessions. That it's more flexible as a result. However, with the financial strain that we already have now, starting, I don't know how fun it already is there, but I'm assuming that you're starting from like a near zero level there when it comes to the funding.
Yeah, barely anything. Yeah.
It's possible that if you start that now, that could start jeopardizing the drop progression idea.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, but it would be something to consider after, like, basically in the first thing, if you're like at the step of like where you finish the secondary. At that step, if you notice that, you know, maybe your life changes or your schedule changes and you find it harder to really like get those 2-hour sessions in and really make enough money here to feel like you're progressing, or you have the arcane at that point, but you can't really throw money at it to upgrade it properly. Then it could be an idea to like sidestep into the kana, and then because then the relative upgrades you can make on the kana with the same amount of money will be way higher, and then get it up to the point where it can start making the money for sure.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then yeah, that might also help you with droplets and stuff, but droplet rate should still be pretty good, as long as you keep training. But if you do end up stalking with this one, like you get to 245 or to 250 and you don't feel like training at all anymore, then yeah, it could be a good idea to like get the kana online for sure. And then you can make some droplets.
But
and
zero priority on that right now. Gotcha.
Yeah, I think unless you think the arcane idea is really silly and it's not going to work or something, then you can readjust.
It's a good idea. It's just like at the moment I want more damage now than later.
Yeah, I totally I totally get it. Yeah. Therefore, I hope I think there's at least one Star Force event coming, so I think that will already give you a big bump, and then I think that will carry you over to when the stuff becomes fully accessible through Neo.
Gotcha.
And yeah, you might have to take a little bit of a dip in the short term, but I think in the long term you're gonna, that's a big amount of stuff you can skip and a lot of money that would be like a sideways upgrade, and instead you're going like straight line.
Gotcha. Okay.
There was one thing I was going to mention. Oh yeah, the level up potions. We didn't really cover that, right? But I would just use them as soon as you can to just get to the next area. Because just in the beginning, the arcane power is just going to be so good that you can start doing the dailies. And of course, the question is like, do you use the last ones at 232 to get to 235 to get to a Sphera? Or do you wait until like, if you do keep leveling up to 237 to get to 240, or maybe even at 240 to get closer to, to 250 or something? That's totally going to depend on how quickly you're leveling and what kind of the time frame is and what makes sense. If you're like near the end of the time of your potions and or your symbols, and you're not at 235 yet, then I would just use them so you can throw them at a Sphera. But if you are already there, you have no trouble to get to like 237 and you can get to 240, and then just use the last one on like the last day, I guess, to get as much value out of it as possible.
So 240 seems a bit far from where I'm at. 230 is Morass, right? And 235 is Asphera?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, so
It'll totally depend on the speed with which you're progressing, how many totems, and you have the triple EXP, so that's definitely like intermediate. I think this Sunday we have the Sunny Sunday for extra experience as well, so you might get some boost out of that.
Oh, okay. Oh, maybe I found on Sunday. Okay.
Yeah, bigger runes and bigger orbs from Aaron Link skill if you have the Evan and the Aaron.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay, so I just gotta find when I can use my potions exactly for it to be, because I think I'm just gonna use the potions until I can hit 235 and unlock Asphera.
That would be really
thingies.
good, yeah. They could start doing
Mhm.
dailies on max amount of areas, most speed ups on the lower areas, and high efficiency on the using the circulators on the higher level
Yeah.
symbols. Yeah. And a lot of
But
stat will come from that, and then the final damage, of course, for hitting the
mhm.
higher targets.
Mhm.
Anything else you can think of at this moment?
Let's see. Gotcha. So for the arcane coupons, the symbol coupons, I
Mhm.
should just keep these for now and then split it like 50-50 between Morass and Aspera.
Yeah, I'd probably do that, or like a little bit more Asphera, but basically even out Maress and Asphera, so they get to the same point
Gotcha.
because they have the same daily gain. So, yeah, for efficiency's
Mhm.
sake, you want them to like end at the same point, basically.
Gotcha. Okay. Is there anything else that I can think of?
Well, it's probably at least one thing, but I mean, if anything does come up like right after the session or something, you're like, oh, I totally forgot to ask this. You just shoot me a DM in Discord or just ask me in the chat. And of course, it's not
For
like
sure, for sure.
it's not like your time's up now, so now I'm never gonna listen to anything you say ever again. It's not quite that extreme, so yeah, you're fine. Otherwise, if something comes to mind.
Oh, can you give me like a priority, I guess, on link skills? Like
like-
what ones I should go for to kind of, like min-max whatever.
In general, I would follow the grid.
Just follow the yellow stuff first and then
So yellow is gonna
like the yellow.
yellow is mainly like account value, and then
Mm-hmm.
green and blue is more specifically character bossing value.
Uh-huh.
So as long as you have those, like that's already a lot of work. But if you go through that list and get most of those, you can't really go wrong with any of those picks.
Okay. Yeah, for sure.
And I saw you already had a lot of those, so there's a lot of boxes there you can tick.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I just
Yeah.
need to make like an errand or some shit.
Yeah. No, this is like in general already thought of like just valuing everything and then within the columns, and then that like just the order just logically follows from that general importance that they have for account building and for character building through the game.
Oh, hyper skills. No, not hyper stats.
Yeah.
How does that look for me? Like, is what I
Yeah,
have
it looks
okay?
good. Yeah, it looks good right now. So the one thing I did mention with critical rate, you have pretty low value. You have high value there per point if you would add there, but I would only look into that if you were like moving away from the link skill for extra crit, or if you move into having access to more crit in your Legion grid. But I don't think you need to do that too soon because you're going to be adding the right, for Neo, you're going to be adding the Marksman. That's some extra crit. You're already high on crit now, but some of that is probably from the Tobin skill. So keep an eye on that one to make sure that one doesn't, when that one drops, that you don't go below 100%, but you have decent sharp eyes that you have access to. It's just that as you keep leveling now, you're going to get more and more hyperstats per level, but the amount that you need to go past 10 is ridiculously pricey, so you'll just probably get everything to 10, and then you'll just start putting into drop rate into critical rate anyway, and then that'll help you phase out more organically your link skill or something else that gives you crit that can give you other stuff instead.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, other than that, your distribution right now is fine. Looks good.
Gotcha. All right. I think that is it.
Yep. Again, if anything does come up right after that you think is not something you could just ask in the chat, but a little bit more important, just hit me up in DMs on Discord, and I'll get back to you ASAP.
Okay, for sure.
All right. Well, best of luck with all of this. I know it's a lot, can be a little bit daunting, I guess, but you have like a general priority, and I think already a very decent, hopefully a little bit better now, understanding of like all the things and how it all works together. And I think with that, you should be fine. And we have very helpful chat as well if there's any small stuff, or where to find my commands that hopefully clarify some topics as well.
Gotcha.
So yeah, best of luck, and I'll see you on the arcane side.
All right, thank you.
All right, see ya.
Bye-bye.
I did the thing again, chat, where I drink too much water during the session to keep my throat oiled. Keep it moist. And then have to pee like a motherfucker afterward. Chat, helpful Keck. You guys are pretty helpful, okay? Yes, you guys are. All right, hopefully this was very helpful to you guys. If you're in a similar situation, of course, the Abzo does bring some short-term gains, but I think for the long term, you can get a lot more if you just kind of hop and a skip over Abzo, like dip your toes into it a little bit, and then just go full steering into the arcane, especially if you have the fake arcane weapon, the oof, bruh. The oof, bruh, in already as part of the set. That'll help you keep the full CRA, keep the hat, go for full arcane here for the 5 set, and then the 3 set CRA. On top of that, WSE very solid. Drop rate and mezzo on the accessories, of course, will help you get that income up high. Yeah, hopefully this was all very interesting, and of course we're trying to keep into account all of the changes that are coming into the game. And if you enjoy this and you want one of these sessions for yourself, or you have information for me in terms of battle analysis, monster skill per hour, or training videos in Tenebris or higher, for any and all of that, check the description of the video.